This book will show us the way to become a great person who can overcome himself, change his destiny, and become a truly successful person in life. To get started, let's take a look at this short story. A boy was born unlucky, and from an early age he suffered from chronic illness, was emaciated, and almost died of lung cancer. He was born ugly, small in stature, and lacking in wisdom. At school, he did not study well. What is even more tragic is that he was unlucky enough to be in a car accident up to 2 times, almost losing his life. Unexpectedly, this boy changed his destiny to become a great person. He worked hard to become the best student in the class, and because he was so sick, when he grew up, he wanted to become a doctor. He later received a medical scholarship from one of Europe's most prestigious universities, the University of Vienna. And even more fortunate, he had the opportunity to study with a well-known psychologist for 9 years, researching the subject on his own until he became a successful and famous person in the field of psychology. One in the world. One of the boys we mentioned above is Alfred Adler, the author of this book. One of the people he studied with for almost 10 years was the famous Austrian psychologist more than 100 years ago, Sigmund Freud. But the two are not related as teachers and students, but as two philosophers with opposing views and enemies. One understands that natural biological factors determine human destiny, while the other, author of this book, understands that a human mindset can change human destiny. That is why the author developed a theory called individual psychology. What is so special about this theory? This theory shows that everyone can achieve their goals and change their destiny through self-effort, but not through natural factors. The author has this view because he himself has gone through such life experiences. His views were applauded by most people because most of them wanted to overcome destiny, and combined with his own life experience, he became very famous after coming up with this theory. In fact, this book was originally titled What Life Should Mean to You. But because the content in this book focuses on changing one's destiny to become a successful person in life, we would like to change the title to Fate instead. In the following, I will divide the main content of this book into 3 parts for your comments. Part 1. What motivates a person to strive to change their destiny? Part 2. How to change your attitude to change your destiny. Part 3. How to make our lives meaningful in our journey towards our goals. Part 1. Let's listen to the first point. What motivates a person to strive to change their destiny? The author understands that a person, no matter how good they are now, is still not satisfied with what they have. They always want to be better. Why do we humans always think so? According to the author's interpretation, there are 2 emotions that motivate people to continue living in society: the feeling of self-loathing and the feeling of wanting to change oneself. You would probably think that self-loathing is only for those who are born with poor conditions. But obviously, everyone feels this way, just less and more. Some people are dissatisfied with themselves, have a lot of shyness, or, like our writers, are born with unfavorable conditions by nature, poor health, many illnesses, and are not as intelligent as others. It is not uncommon for these people to be upset with themselves. Not wrong. Some people look very strong on the outside, but on the inside, they are weak and less satisfied with their lives. The book cites an example of 3 children visiting a zoo with their mother, who, when they saw the lions in the zoo, were terrified. The first child ran to hide behind his mother and shouted, "Mom, help me, I'm scared." As for the second child, he was unconscious in one place. His face was pale and scared, but he still said, "I am not afraid of you. Come." As for the third child, he acted like a hero, so he ran to his mother and youngest brother and said, "Do not be afraid, I am here." In fact, these 3 children are all afraid of the lion. They just show different emotions and behaviors. Some people seem to have a lot of energy and strength in themselves, but in fact, they may be more miserable than people in crisis. But they must always show strong feelings and energy due to the factors around them, or their behavior from birth. They do not want to show everyone that they are weak or in crisis. In general, in the theory of individual psychology, the author of this book wants to emphasize that in this world, everyone is dissatisfied with themselves, both their dissatisfaction and their performance, the only difference. But the author states that this feeling of dissatisfaction is not a negative feeling. On the contrary, it is a feeling that motivates everyone to continue to live in this society. It can be said that without such feelings, people's lives are without meaning. On the other hand, the author states that dissatisfaction with oneself is not a negative word, nor is it a shameful, bad feeling. It is like the angry, happy feeling that everyone has. Think about it. If it's something that motivates us to continue living on Earth and not a bad word or a negative word, then it should be an important topic that we should discuss, well or not. In general, when people are not satisfied with themselves, they always want to change themselves. This is also a feeling that everyone has, which means that when they feel bad, everyone wants to change themselves for the better. But not everyone can take action to fill a gap that they feel is lacking. Some just want to. The meaning of life and the definition of success for a person are very much related to the feeling that he is not satisfied with himself. Many children want to become doctors because they have experienced losing family members when they were young. It makes them feel hurt and insecure. To compensate for this feeling, they choose to be doctors, fight with death to achieve success and overcome this difficult feeling in the body. But most people want to succeed, want to change themselves, but do not have a clear goal. They do not know what they need to change to be successful for him or what kind of life he wants to live. And even if you find a clear goal, there are many ways to achieve it. The way you use it to compensate for your feelings of dissatisfaction and correct your own shortcomings is expressed through our daily behavior. To make it easier to understand, we can say, in other words, that self-dissatisfaction is like a boat engine pushing you from behind. You need to know exactly where you are going. The feeling of wanting to change yourself is like a locomotive that gives you both direction and momentum. But the feeling of wanting to change yourself, want yourself to be successful, you have to be very careful of its direction. Absolutely do not go the wrong way because some people want to succeed, know that they are not good, and also want to change themselves. But because you cannot solve the problem in front of you, try to leave it aside, avoid unresolved problems, and instead find another way to compensate for your dissatisfaction with yourself. For example, sometimes he is angry. He knows it is a bad thing that he needs to change, but because he cannot do it himself, he tries to hide his weaknesses and blame others. He says, "If you know he is angry, why do you like to make him so angry?" Let us look at an example in this book. The author recorded the story of a 16-year-old girl who looked like a normal person with no psychological problems. But after questioning, it was discovered that at the age of 6-7, he started stealing things in the house, and at the age of 12, he started hanging out at night until he became an adult. The author chatted with him and also received information that, since he was a child, he had never received love from his family. At the age of 2, his parents divorced and his mother never cared for him, so from an early age, he grew up with anger, resentment, and a lack of warmth from his family. In a conversation with the author, he admitted, actually, he did not want to steal things in the house, nor did he want to go out with those Polish friends. I did this to let my mother know that he has no control over my life. This girl uses these actions to hurt the people who love her, worry about her, because she wants to compensate for the feelings she did not get when she was young, or want her mother to feel a lack of love and warmth. It tastes like nah. We must have seen it in movies and in everyday society. This is because he cannot use his goals and success to compensate for his weaknesses and failures, so he uses this method. This is what we call going astray. They do not know what they want or the meaning of life. But there are also those who do it well, using pain and stigma as motivating factors to strive for success in life. Above is the first part, where we talk about motivating factors that enable us to correct our own shortcomings. When you feel dissatisfied with yourself, remember that it is normal. Everyone has it, and it is not a negative feeling. Everyone knows they are lacking and wants to do something to improve themselves. But be careful not to do the wrong things that lead you to do things that society does not value. Part 2, in the second part, we look at how to change one's actions to change one's destiny. The authors place great emphasis on the influence of society on children and the environment around them, which influences their thinking. He says that a person's character begins to take shape when he's 5 to 6 years old. If he's an adult, his character becomes more shy. Then you can inquire about his childhood. He must have experienced something that stuck in his heart or was oppressed by someone from an early age. He grew up with such symptoms. A person's childhood really has a profound effect on his character and actions as he grows up. Individual psychology theory gives us the opportunity to transform ourselves into better people. The sole purpose of this theory is to show people around the world that childhood experiences and stories affect us but do not determine our character or actions. What does that mean? Let us listen to this example. If a child is born into a poor family and is not as happy as other children, will he or she grow up to be an unhappy person? Not sure. He could be the happiest person. In the past, this child's childhood was irreversible. This is true. But his childhood was full of valuable life experiences. No one knows. In his mind, he may think that this world is too unfair. And why was I born poor, ugly, and not as lucky as others? The pain and injustice he suffered as a child made him worry, and he could commit acts that disgusted society or completely ruined his future because he thought he had nothing to lose. But he can also think that when I was young, I was not as lucky as others. But when I grew up, I could not continue to suffer such injustice. I had to work hard to earn money to change my situation so that my child could be born in better condition than me. Therefore, the author understands that the past and the external environment only affect us, but cannot determine our destiny. The only thing that can change a person is their mindset. This view is a wake-up call to those who are discouraged and dissatisfied with themselves, to be able to walk out of this dark realm and reinterpret what happened in the past, change their mindset, and strive to build the future and a bright hope again. This is not a theory of success, but a personal experience of the author. Through this work, he wants to show the reader that everyone can change their destiny through their own efforts, no matter what they go through. No matter how bad the experience is now, you still have the opportunity to change yourself. Easy to say, but important to start. The author provides not only theory, but also practical methods. The starting point is to set a clear goal for yourself. The author understands that what determines our destiny is not the experience of the past, but the goal of the future. When we have a clear goal, our actions, words, and attitudes will completely change. The book mentions a man with frequent headaches who came to the author to discuss his mental state. After questioning, the author stated that, in fact, this man often has a headache because he uses this condition as an excuse to avoid problems. In fact, when he has a slight headache, he does not need to do anything. He does not need to go to work. He does not need to meet outsiders. He can sleep at home. For him, this hedachi can bring so many good things that people around him need to understand and tolerate him to facilitate his work in large part, so he does not want to make changes. If the man himself is not awake and determined to change, then his headache will never be cured. So the authors understand that only by setting a clear goal of what you want can it awaken your billions of cells to begin to move and change, because in our entire body, any cell is lazy. They do not want to think about the body. They do not want to move, so if it can be comfortable, they will be comfortable forever. The above is the second part that talks about how to change yourself. The past cannot be changed, but we can change our perception of the past. Start setting clear goals, take action, and change our thinking toward the goal. Part 3. In the last part, we come up with ways to find meaning in our lives. Someone asked, if people are still dead, why live? The best answer I have ever heard is live to live. The author understands that no matter what era you live in, the following 3 problems are inevitable. The first is work problems, the second is social problems, and the third is family problems. We have to work to create values for society. We have to have relationships because we have to live with people. We have to have families because we have reproductive obligations. This is a natural law, so you cannot avoid these 3 problems as long as you are still alive on this earth. And if one day you disconnect from society, your life will be meaningless. So, to make our lives more meaningful, we need to increase our relationships. According to the author, in order to enhance the relationship, we need to pay more attention to our partner. We use family relationships as an example. The author states that family is the story of 2 people working together. 2 people can live together long and peacefully until they know how to work well together. In some families, the man or woman himself understands that the man, as the head of the family, must control and take care of everything in the family. This kind of perception does not mean cooperation. What does cooperation mean? Cooperation means that with 2 hands together, no one is responsible and no one commands anyone. This means that both spouses have equal rights and responsibilities. If someone is watching someone or waiting for someone to order, this collaboration cannot last long and the family is not happy. What can be done to have a good spirit of cooperation? The author says that until everyone knows where they stand, for example, a man is originally a hunter and a woman is a housekeeper, so just because a man earns a lot of money from outside does not mean that he is the most powerful person in the world. No family. Therefore, the author advises all men in the world not to be busy thinking about who is high and who is low in the family. You should manage this family well, focusing on your partner, your wife. Of course, the woman must adapt to cooperate with the man based on the common goal of building a happy family. The author suggests that one way to make a family happy is to take care of the other partner, and that level of care is greater than taking care of yourself. If there is only one ability that you want to pass on to your next generation, teaching them to collaborate with the people around them is enough. If in society they are good people at work, they work well in the family, they are good husbands, good wives, and good children, that means they are living a very meaningful life. This is the main content of this book. Finally, we come to the part where we talk about the middle ground. First, we mention motivating factors in changing one's own destiny. One of them is the feeling of dissatisfaction with oneself, which is like a boat engine that pushes us forward, but only the propulsion force does not have a clear goal. You have to be very careful about such feelings, because if you think the wrong way, it can lead you to do things that are not good for society. In addition, dissatisfaction with yourself can also be a factor motivating you to make changes, making you try to change your destiny one day.